The New York Rangers are off to a 3-4-1 start to begin this regular season, and a massive reason on why they're off to a fairly poor start there and do have a negative record is the fact that they cannot find the back of the net near enough. This team continues to create chances, create good looks, and get opportunities to score, but they ultimately just continue to struggle at actually finding the back of the net and actually putting the puck in there and getting the job done, because game after game, they continue to create good looks, get high danger chances, get medium danger chances, get low danger chances. They get a lot of good looks in these games. They get a lot of scoring opportunities, but they just cannot find the back of the net, and that has been such a big problem for this team to begin this season. And a couple crazy stats that really show you how kind of wild this start to this season has been for the Rangers are the goals for per game and goals against per game. It is the complete, literal, drastic opposite here. As for goals for per game, the Rangers are literally 31st in the entire NHL with a 2.00 goals for per game. 31st in the entire league. 32nd is the Calgary Flames in dead last with a 1.57. They're the only team with less goals for per game than the Rangers, and that is not a good thing at all. The Calgary Flames offense is bad. It is not good at all. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the entire NHL. They right now have a record of 1-6. So the Rangers are only above a 1-6 hockey team that is just not going to be good this year. That's going to be probably bottom three, if not maybe last in the entire NHL. And then you've got, if you take a look on the other side of things here for goals against per game, the Rangers are at the complete opposite side of things here, where they are now second best in the entire NHL. They're second in the entire league, and they have a 1.88 goals against average compared to the top place team in first, who's the only team above them with a 1.5 goals against average per game, and that is the Colorado Avalanche. The third place team is the Washington Capitals with a 2.00. And that just clearly goes to show how kind of wild this start has been for the Rangers. I mean, this is a team that obviously, defensively have gotten a lot better than last season. I'm not saying they're a, perfect defensive team here, but they look a whole lot better than what they were last season defensively. They've still got their issues, and Igor has, had to make a ton of phenomenal stops himself, but I think it goes to show, compared to last season, this defense core, these defensemen, they look a whole lot better and are definitely playing a lot better. And then you got in net there, Igor Shesterkin and, even Jonathan Quick, who both themselves, even Quickie at his, older age there, I think both those guys look a whole lot better themselves as well since last season. The coaching staff, I think, especially defensively, over a guy like, Phil Housley, that seems like a massive upgrade there with this new crew coming in, Mike Sullivan and his guys. So I think overall, this Rangers team, defensively and in net, look a lot better, but offensively, they just can't find the back of the net. If this team was scoring at like a league average pace right now, they would have such a better record and be right near the top of the Metropolitan Division and probably near the top of the entire NHL, if not at least the Eastern Conference. So, it's just one of those spots where, this team really could just be so much higher up there if they just were scoring at a little better rate there. They need to find the back of the net. And I'm not sure kind of what they really need to do to change, because, they are getting these looks there. It's just about, finishing these chances there, beating the goalie. And obviously, we've gone up against some solid goaltenders there. Philip Gustafsson, obviously to begin this season there before playing the Rangers in the Wild, he was having a little bit of a rough season there, the numbers at least, but he obviously had a pretty good performance there. He's a pretty good goalie. Then you've got a guy like Stolarz, another good netminder. Silovs had a phenomenal game in game one of the season there. Of course, he's probably not that good normally, but he played pretty great there, making some phenomenal stops. Went up against Charlie Lindgren, who had another phenomenal game. It feels like he has, a few of those against the Rangers. So it's just unfortunate, but I think at the end of the day, the Rangers themselves just have to do a better job at finishing. Obviously, like I said, the goalies that they've gone up against have played good at moments, but it is, I think, more on this team. I mean, game after game, they're getting these chances, they're getting good looks there. They're putting up some pretty good, high expected goals, per game, but they're just not actually finishing these chances, not actually scoring, even though the numbers say they should be doing a whole lot better than what they're doing right now. I mean, you take a look at, the other night's game, for example, against the Minnesota Wild, where the Rangers ended up losing the game, of course, 3-1. The Wild get 2 goals plus an empty netter. The Rangers get 1 goal. And the expected goals for in the game ended up being 3.38 for the Wild and 2.9 for the Rangers. And the 2 goals that were scored in the game there by the Minnesota Wild weren't even necessarily good goals. I mean, you take a look at the first one, for example, there, you've got a shot that deflects off Lafreniere's stick, who's, trying to be in the way. They're trying to block it or tip the shot away, but he ends up tipping it off his own stick and into the back of the net there, past Igor, just squeaks by him. He almost got it there, had a piece of it, unfortunately, but does not stop the full thing. So that gives the Minnesota Wild a tie game there at 1. And then later on, we see the Wild get the lead there. They take a 2-1 lead as Danil Yurov gets his first career NHL goal. And it's just kind of one of those where the puck kind of scrambling around the crease there. Igor lays down and trying to get on top of it. It slides out to the right of him, and Danil just kind of whacks into the back of the net there. A very easy goal for his first one of his NHL career, and that gave the Wild a 2-1 lead, which ended up being the game winner, as of course this team could not find the back of the net after that. So overall, this team, I think to begin, like I said earlier, they've looked good in net there. Igor and Quick have looked really good, especially Igor there, who is, and I would say, Vezina form. You've got the defensemen, who I think are much improved from last season there. They're looking a whole lot better, and even a guy like Foxy, I think, has, kind of gotten back into maybe his Norris form, which is a great sign. But the problem is, this team offensively, although they're creating a lot of chances, they can just not find the back of the net, which is clearly been, I would say, the biggest reason on why this team currently does have a 3-4-1 record instead of what could be a potentially like 6-2-0 record, or maybe even a 7-1-0 record if this team was scoring at a much more reasonable or even about league average level. Next up here, we've got 2 quotes we're going to take a look at. One from Mike Sullivan and one from Mika Zibanejad, both post-game after the loss to the Minnesota Wild, and these quotes were taken by Molly Walker and Vince Mercogliano, two, very good New York Rangers writers/reporters. But they go on to say, a rare display of frustration from Zibanejad when he was asked about the danger of talking about all the chances they're getting if they're not leading to goals. And he goes on to say, quote, "What else should I do more? I have to score. Yes, I understand that, but I'm getting to the chance. I'd be more worried if we didn't get any chances. It's frustrating for us. It's frustrating for me. How many looks did we have? Not just this game, just overall. I honestly don't know what else to do." And I think that's some of it fair, obviously. Yes, this team is absolutely, Mika included, they're getting the looks there. They're getting the chances. They're getting the opportunities, but they're not actually finishing on these chances, and that's why they end up losing a bunch of games so far to begin this season. This is why this team doesn't have a way better record than what they really could have, with how much better and improved this team defensively has been and how good their goaltenders have been. This team could easily have a way better record. It's just the problem of this team not being able to finish on the many chances they get, and even, not just kind of decent looks there. They get a bunch of really good high danger looks there, a bunch of really good chances, but they just can't find the back of the net, which has been the biggest problem so far for this team. And then we've got kind of 2 quotes here from Mike Sullivan. One where he goes on to say, talking about the Wild game, "We scored early, which was great, but I thought we got outplayed. We got outplayed all night," which I definitely agree with. I think for the most part there, the Rangers just did not look good. And then he also got asked, does he think the Rangers have a bit of a disconnect on offense? And he ended up saying, quote, "No, I don't think so. I didn't think we were at our best on opening night. There's a lot of emotion that goes around those situations. From that point on up until this game, I felt like the team has played extremely well in generating a significant amount of offense. We didn't get rewarded for it in some nights, but it wasn't a case of disconnect or not getting looks. I didn't think we got as many looks tonight, but we didn't play as well. That's different, so the narrative is very different tonight than it's been in the last couple of weeks." And I think that's fair. This game was definitely different than some of the previous ones where the Rangers, still have it coming on top there, where maybe they were, creating a lot more chances and weren't getting stuck in their own zone and, getting outworked for most of the game there, where in that Wild game, they definitely got outworked. They got outplayed. The chances were definitely more on the side of the Wild, that's for sure. They got outshot there. For the most part of the game there, the Rangers were heavily outshot as well. So I think this game was definitely a poor one from the Rangers. In net, Igor played solid. Defensively, they weren't great, but I don't think they gave up too many crazy, amazing chances there. I think this Rangers team just couldn't get a whole lot going, though. definitely had probably their worst game, or one of them, of the season so far. And I definitely do hope that going forward, this team will hopefully just figure out some kind of a way to start finishing a lot of these chances, as they are getting some good looks there, but they just cannot seem to find the back of the net, which hopefully will turn around at some point. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.